Hey, it's Pop Rocks. Thank you for joining me on my channel. As always, like and subscribe and comment what you want to see on the next upload, as my next few uploads are going to be hero concepts since I've had a lot of them since last year. So, with that out of the way, let's get right into Overlord. Alright, let's quickly go over Overlord and the goals for his design. So I made Overlord to be a tankier support, like Brigitte with some armor in there. And then how his mech's gonna work is he'll just die with the mech. Pretty simple stuff here for the goals. Okay, let's talk about Overlord's HP. Now his health is going to be 175 health, 50 armor, and 25 shields. Now I'm not changing a single thing about this concept, just to reflect when I made it versus now. Now I don't know why I gave him 25 shields. I think my goal was to make him feel a little bit different from the other supports, like Lifeweaver has shields, but also keep that little bit of Meka inspired with the armor. But as you'll see in my casino video, I did away with the armor, mostly because armor on a DPS is pretty strong. Now let's talk about his passives. Overlord's first passive will obviously be the support passive, and his second passive is something I call levitate. And what does it do? Well, when you hold jump or secondary fire, he will go up to 20 meters in the air, and he basically can just stay there until he gets shot or until he moves. Now, to balance it out, I did add a thing where it's like, if it becomes too strong, we can add a resource meter, so that way he'll just stay in the 20 meters for however long the resource meter is. And then another cool thing about this that I like is that he also levitates like Sigma and like Zenyatta off of the ground. His would be a bit higher, just because I think it'd be cool, honestly. Moving on, we have his primary fire. I call it Fusion Gatling. Now, what it does is basically supposed to be a mid-range, sort of lower end of the damage when it comes to supports. I noticed they have a lot of higher damage, so he's only going to be able to shoot for 2.5 seconds, which is 20 per second with 50 ammo. Now he's going to do about 5.7 damage per bullet with 114 DPS without reload and 66.3 DPS with reload and a 1.8 second reload. Now I did this just to slow it down, but still keep it at a pretty decent pace. But when he reloads, if you're like a Genji or something, you can hold your deflect for the entire time. If it's like a Bastion, it's just like a Bastion who doesn't know to stop shooting, So then even if you don't do it, or like a Tracer, you just wait those 2.5 seconds, you can survive that. He's cooked, brother. It's just, I made it to where, he has good damage, but he can still be punished very easily if he's locked into that 1.8 second reload animation. Now let's talk about Overlord's first ability, and I think the most controversial one of the entire kit, his Mending UAVs. It has 4 charges, which is one more than the typical max 3 charges, but it can only be targeted to one ally at a time. So you can't put 4 charges on your Reinhardt, 3 charges on your Reinhardt, 2 on your Reinhardt, only the 1 charge. Now, here's how it works. Basically, it has a 30-meter range, which if you don't know, I believe is a bit less or around Lifeweaver's healing range. And so basically what it'll do is you send it to somebody, it goes straight to them. But if they're within your crosshair, 10 meters of your crosshair I should say, then it'll just go to them, like around a corner or just straight to them. And then if nobody is within 10 meters of your crosshair, it'll just go straight whether they're on your screen or not. This is like a more targeting system, but it can still feel a little bit better because it's not just like Lifeweaver where it goes, it'll go a little bit slower, but it'll do more overall. So the exact numbers other than the aiming is going to be 60 healing per second per UAV for 2.5 seconds. Totaling to about 150 HP over the 2.5 seconds. And then each charge of your UAVs will be about 6 seconds or so, which, talking about it now, I didn't realize how much I pulled from Lifeweaver and Brigitte with the health, with the healing, and all that. It's just very surprising that I didn't even realize it until almost a year later after making this concept. His ability 2 is called Fusion Boost. It's a pretty basic 10-meter dash in his facing direction while airborne or while he is jumping, sort of like a Lifeweaver dash or a Hanzo lunge, but it is on ability 2, and it's on a 5 to 8 second cooldown. And now I had this in here, and I have Casino's version because I wanted every single Diva, Meka Squad member to have a sort of boost or booster just something to give them a burst of mobility. And I think that Fusion Boost is one of those ones where it's pretty basic, but it gets the job done for the feel of the Mecha Squad. Last but certainly not least is his ultimate ability, Nuclear Accelerator. Now what will happen is he'll jolt about 10 to 15 meters in the air, and then once the animation is complete, he cannot be moved or booped, and he'll have accelerated cooldowns on his UAVs and give allies within a 15-meter radius attack speed boosting. Now, I think this would be good. I didn't exactly clarify in this original description what like the boost would be to his UAVs, like the cooldown. So I would say probably from 6 to 4 seconds, and I would assume he would get damage resistance if he is completely stationary, but he might also be considered as like an object, so maybe he'll be killed and then he's fine. But at the same time, that would contradict with his passive, where when he's killed, he just dies. So at the same time, I don't know, but I would say currently, if I made him right now, this is mostly the same way. I would have given him damage resistance and then been a 4-second cooldown instead of a 6-second on the mending UAVs. But that's just me on a very old concept I made. And with that, that concludes our Overlord section, and we're on to Casino. Okay, now for Casino and the goals of his design. Fast. That is basically it. Feel like an F1 driver, get the Mecha Squad feel, just be fast. You know, that was my goal. Now onto his health. Casino will have 250 flat HP because I decided armor would just be too strong on a character this fast. And so if I'm going to have him have normal HP, then I need him to just have no armor, no shields, nothing like that. Alright, so on to the passives. Casino's gonna have two passives. First is the damage roll passive, obviously. The second one is going to be something I call Drift. Now, what does Drift do? Well, when he is in car form, yes, he turns into a car. When he turns and he holds his primary fire, he physically will drift, like booping and doing damage. It doesn't do a lot of damage or a lot of boop, but considering every time his form switches into the car, he can do it anytime he wants. So I thought it was pretty fun. Gives you that feel of like a race car driver or just like somebody in a car in general. And, you know, drifting's just fun in games, so putting it in an FPS would be interesting to see, and it like expands how the heroes work. And we're not in this mold of if you're a form switcher, you either get a little faster or get a little slower, you know? It's time to talk about Casino's primary fire when he's in his regular form, which is I called Fusion Gun. I'm going to be honest, I couldn't think of anything, so I'm just calling it Fusion Gun. So basically, he'll just have two built-in guns that'll just fire at a range. That's basically it, because like I said before, Overlord was a lot more like technical numbers and stuff, but this one is much more open and less of like the general idea and more just you make him as powerful or as weak as you want. Now for Casino's normal form ability 1, I call it Pit Crew. What it does do? Well, basically you sit still for a couple seconds and repair your damages. Now this is a cancelable ability because you will be completely immobile unless you hit the ability 1 button again or get damaged. Now it's basically just like the old Bastion thing, but since he's so fast and less tanky than Bastion, I think it is a good way to be to where he can help himself. But since he has to constantly stop to repair, it will give plenty of opportunity for people to attack him while he's low and while he is immobile. Now onto Casino's ability 1 for his car form, I call it Burn Rubber. Basically, you'll launch forward on the ground to boop enemies and deal damage. This will be better than his normal drifting, and then it can be used instantly or be charged up to 3 seconds. Now, for the 3-second charge, it does do more damage, however, it does not increase your distance or your speed, so you'll still launch at a pretty decent speed, but you'll only do more damage, not more distance. And it is a third-person ability because I do like how like tanks have the charge abilities that are third-person, and I just think it's more fun that way. Okay, now for Casino's second ability, I'm going to call it Mecha Swap. Now basically it's just a Bastion form switch. It lets him go from his normal form to his car form and vice versa. Now he'll be faster normally in his car form, have access to his car form ability Burn Rubber, and he will be in third person the whole time. And I did think about having it on a duration or resource meter, but I figured that would just be up to interpretation, since while it would be better for balancing if it was like durated or like on a resource, I do think like unless there's a way to replenish said resource, it just wouldn't feel good. On Bastion it's a bit different because you do so much damage, but on him you're just faster, so I think that would just need to be up for interpretation by the balance team. Finally, Casino's ultimate ability, Formula 1. He'll turn into his car form and plow through the enemies, doing it back again. So like he'll go forward and then come back to where he started, and getting a kill lets him do it again. So basically, it's like a Junker Queen ult, except he doesn't do anti and it's not damage over time. It's just boom, boom, gets a kill, boom, boom, gets a kill, boom, boom, and then that's it. He can only do it twice after the first one with a total of 3, and again, he'll be in third person the whole time. And with that very final ability, that concludes my Overlord and a Casino Mecha Squad hero concept video. Now, I'm probably not going to make a hero concept on King, mainly because to me his design doesn't look like he could make something too interesting, but honestly, that's just my opinion. And then same thing for D.Mon. I don't think that he would even become a character. The other 4 have a much better shot than him, and let alone figuring out his abilities. So with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.